Hi guys, welcome to Abby's Place, the place where no matter where you are, you can always feel a little at home. Thanks again. We are back with another episode. Thanks for joining us. If you're joining me from Spotify, welcome. If you're joining me from Apple Music, welcome. And if you're joining from YouTube, special welcome because y'all can see me right now. If you don't know, I am filming all these and putting them on YouTube. So if you want to watch audibly or visually along with audibly, go head over to Abby's Place podcast on YouTube. We have a good time. I have a fun little setup here. I was filming in my bedroom for a while, and then honestly, it was kind of just bumming me out. So I think I'm going to be filming in my living room from now on. It's just such a good vibe. I've got my fireplace going. I've got my candles lit. I've got fresh flowers that smell amazing next to me. I have another candle lit on my little desk in front of me, my makeshift desk. And yeah, I'm just really happy to be here. It feels really good. Like this episode feels really exciting to film. We're going to talk about a lot of things that are just really heavy on my heart recently, and what I've been up to, and some exciting last minute travel plans that have just come up. So stay tuned. It's going to be a good one. In this episode, we are talking all about love and relationships in your 20s, specifically what I'm learning right now about love at 23, which I've touched on briefly in the past, but this one's going to be a bit more hopeful. So yeah, first, I just want to set the scene. I am chugging some electrolytes right now because I have made it a habit in the morning to start my day off with a bunch of caffeine and my Adderall, which is great. And it definitely helps me stay focused, but also your girl has been pretty chronically dehydrated lately. If you don't know, Adderall dehydrates the hell out of you. So some ASMR. I've got my electrolytes there. And anyway, I want to catch you guys up on what I've been up to. As you know, in the last episode, I had just gotten back from a trip in the van. So this week has kind of been, I've just been regaining my stability a lot, figuring out, what my next step is, what my next plan is. And the next thing on my agenda has been a half marathon. Now, this half marathon is in 19 days. Okay. Have I ever run a half marathon? No. Did I really want to run a half marathon? No. Do I like running? Not really. But did I tell everyone that I'm doing a half marathon and now I feel like I have to? Yes. However, 2 days ago, I get an email saying, hey, we are this company who runs these travel experiences and we had a last minute cancellation for this Greece trip. Do you want to go? And I said, what are the dates? And they said the 5th through the 14th. And I said, ooh, the half marathon's on the 13th. That's really bad timing. But they're going to pay me and it's a free trip to Greece. And so I posted on my Instagram and I was like, hey guys, I have this dilemma. I told everyone I was going to do a half marathon and I've been kind of training for it. And now it's like, I feel like I have to do it. However, I just got offered a free trip to Greece, not only free, but paid. What do I do? And I got hundreds and hundreds of messages from people saying, girl, go to Greece. There's this one message I got that was like, girl, it's okay. Men quit stuff all the time. You're fine. Just go to Greece. And so I think I'm going to go to Greece. And also they said I get a +1. So what did I do? I invited a random boy who I've never met to go to Greece with me. Because good for the plot. That plot development would be insane. We've been friends since October maybe, just like mutuals online. He's super cool. We got a lot in common and I think it would just be really funny. So I did invite him. We will see if he actually goes. It's kind of like a very last minute thing. But I might be going to Greece in a week with a boy I've never met. And if it's not a boy, I'm just going to invite one of my girlfriends. Like, it's going to be a great trip regardless. So needless to say, I don't think I'm doing the half marathon anymore. I'll probably pick another half marathon to do eventually. But for now, honestly, it's taken a lot of weight off my chest. And I'm excited to go travel somewhere. I've never been to Greece. So cheers to being spontaneous in your 20s while you still can. I am feeling very, very thankful for the ability to do that. If you are in your 20s, I was just listening to this Mel Robbins clip the other day. And Mel was saying, I messed up my 20s because I didn't take any risks. And it kind of hit me because I was like, ever since moving out of the van, I have been very risk averse and not wanting to take a lot of risks because I just gained all this stability. I don't want to risk losing any of it, right? Like in the van, it was super easy to be carefree and to just like go everywhere on a whim. And then as soon as I gained this groundedness that I have in the house, it's scarier to take risks and to kind of risk giving that up or losing it. I don't know. It's harder to branch out, I'm realizing. So, in the van, the reason I moved out of it was because I was craving that stability. And now I've gotten it 100%. Like, look at this beautiful place that I'm in, and I'm so thankful for it. And I've made this for myself, which I'm so proud of myself for. Now I'm at this standstill where I'm like, okay, I have stability. I have really good friends here. I've created this beautiful life. I'm in this beautiful place. I love Bend. What's next? And part of what I'm learning is like, to enjoy the moment and to enjoy the phase of life that I'm in right now and really relish it and soak it in. And then also I'm reminding myself that it's okay to want to branch out. It doesn't mean I'm running away from anything. It doesn't mean that I'm not okay with sitting still. It just means that like I'm 23 and I want to have a good time and I want to create experiences that I remember when I'm, old and can't do those experiences anymore. So I'm trying to find a good balance, and I've never been good at that, ever. Like when I was in the van, I was 100% on the go all the time. And I would get in this cycle of go, 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 reach burnout, hit burnout, not want to go anywhere, but felt pressured to go places because that's my livelihood, right? Like I've been a social media van life content creator for 5 years. So what's my worth if I'm sitting still? Like who's going to want to watch that? So I would get really burnt out in the van, and I've really made it a point to, sit still and take a breath since moving out of the van. And I've learned a lot, and I feel like I'm finally learning how to have balance. And that's just never been something I'm good at, especially with, having very, I wouldn't say like extreme ADHD, but I'm definitely like ADHD. The more I'm learning about it, it dictates a lot of my life. It contributes to a lot of my life and my spontaneity and my sporadicness. And I'm learning how to manage that in a healthy way for myself. So I've been at this standstill, like to sum it up, I've been at this standstill of to stay or to go, to be content or to always be seeking new experiences. And like, what is the answer to that? What is the right thing to do? And what I've discovered and what I'm trying to implement is seeking stability in like the long lasting stuff, seeking stability in friendships that I can invest in long term. No matter where I'm at, I'll always have these friendships. In my family relationships, my relationships with my family members has been rocky over the years because I've been gone. I've been gone for multiple Christmases. I've been gone for my birthdays. I've been gone for my family's birthdays. And I haven't had the wherewithal to really put effort into those relationships and invest in them. And in turn, I've felt a lot of distance from my family members. And all they want is, for me to be happy and healthy and thriving. And I've realized that, yes, I can still be happy, healthy, and thriving and still have a good relationship with them. So having that stability in those consistent things, and also having stability in my daily habits. I have non-negotiables now that I wasn't able to have in the van, like staying active every day, like doing something active. In the van, sometimes it's hard because you don't always have access to a shower. So I don't want to go run, a 5K and then not be able to shower afterwards and feel all gross in my van. And so there was a lot of times where I would like skip a workout simply because I just didn't have access to a shower afterwards. And that was frustrating because, especially having ADHD, being active is so important for my mental health, even if it just means going and running 1 mile or going and doing like a spin class or a yoga class or surfing or whatever. It's a really good way for my brain to stay on track. And so staying active has been a really big thing. Eating healthy and eating foods that make me feel good. When I was in the van, it was a lot of fast meals where it's like I was picking up a lot of granola bars and like processed meat sticks for long drives and energy drinks to stay awake on these long drives, and then eating out a ton with friends. And since being here, I've really been able to mitigate that and think of my health as like a very important thing rather than something that I only focus on sometimes. So staying active, eating healthy, and getting good sleep. Good sleep is another thing I didn't do a lot in the van. And I notice now a very, very, very stark difference on when I get 6 hours of sleep versus when I get 8 to 9 hours of sleep, which is recommended especially for women. So these non-negotiables I've never been able to implement before in the last 5 years. And even before that in high school, I feel like I'm finally growing up a little bit. And it has changed my brain so much. And it's made my life so much more fulfilling because I have the energy and the foundation to give then to these new experiences and new friendships and to branch out. So it's just some lessons I'm learning on stability, that you can have stability in the small things and then still want to go branch out and do a spontaneous trip somewhere, right? Even if that means packing up your car and sleeping in a sleeping bag in the back and going to the coast or going to another state. If you have a good foundation, those things will come, they'll cause you a lot less stress. But if you don't have a good foundation and you're just kind of grasping at straws, personally, I just experienced a lot of burnout in that. And yeah, it's been a really cool lesson to learn. And so I'm really excited to go to Greece, to say the least. I was talking to a friend yesterday here at my house. We just hung out and talked for hours. And she asked me, she goes, is this Greece trip going to stress you out? Is it going to kind of spread yourself too thin because you've got a lot going on right now? And I was like, you know what? It might, but I know that I have a good foundation, a good home to come back to. I have friends to come back to. I have that stability here. So even if it does stress me out, at least I have a place that I can go back to. And also if it stresses me out, what's the worst thing in the world? I'm stressed out in Greece, right? Bummer. Womp womp. That sucks. And maybe with a boy, which could be fun. So, but speaking of stability, ever since moving into the house, I have had a lot of stuff come up, as we've talked about in previous episodes, that I really haven't thought of in the past. And one of them has been this internal craving for companionship. And I felt really conflicted about that recently because I'm 23. And everybody says in your 20s, you should be single and free and do whatever you want to do and live unapologetically and just go hook up with a bunch of people and learn about yourself and all that. And trust me, I am all for the self-discovery that comes from being alone in your 20s. I am a firm believer in that. When I was 19, I hopped into a committed relationship and moved in with him. And not that I regret that, but it definitely hindered my growth in a lot of ways because I wasn't ready for that. I needed to do a lot more growth on my own. But I also grew a lot from that relationship. So it's a double-sided coin. It's both ways. In both ways, either option, I grew, right? If I would have avoided that relationship, I would have grown on my own. But from being in that relationship, I learned a lot about myself in terms of what I want, what I don't want in relationships. And when that ended, I have been single for the last year and a half. I haven't dated anyone seriously, but I have had a lot of casual flings. Okay, and we're gonna get into that. So I think, like I said, I've had this craving for companionship, and it's kind of made me feel really ashamed because when I was in the van life hookup culture and van life dating is really, really tricky because you are constantly always moving. And so I think a lot of people in general in the community do crave that companionship, but because you're always moving and you're always meeting new people, and the whole point of van life and living in a van and traveling is to experience new things, there's a lot of big emphasis on this hookup culture and being polyamorous and sleeping around and exploring your options and never being committed to one person. And if you are committed to that person, then you are traveling full time with them. There is not a lot of balance, right? And it's really hard to seek stability in companionship in that way. When my ex and I started dating, when I was in the van, we moved in together within 2 months of dating, maybe not even that, because it was just the easiest thing to do because we were both, travelers and we both wanted to go experience new things. So I was living in the van. I didn't want to settle down. I had just moved into it 7 months prior. So we moved in together and there was just no balance. There was no chance to really get to know each other separately. It was just, we're getting to know each other by living together. And so 2 years of dating in the van really felt like 5 years of real life dating because you are with that person 24/7. I mean, this man knew everything about me. And there was no balance in that. So now going into the house, the pendulum kind of swung the other way, where I moved into the house and I was like hyper independent. I'm alone. I don't want any roommates. It's just gonna be me and my dog. I'm done dating. I'm done with all this like back and forth. I'm gonna be so independent and so single, right? And let me tell you guys, that gets lonely. Like that gets lonely as hell, to just be so fiercely independent that you can't accept love from others, and also that you kind of start to not believe it in anymore. And especially in my generation, Gen Z specifically, there's this emphasis on being casual, being carefree. Like, don't even get me started on hookup culture. The terms being tossed around like ethical non-monogamy, and like being polyamorous is somehow now more common than being monogamous. And if you are someone that wants a monogamous relationship, a companionship, it's kind of frowned upon. And it's almost like you're met with this response of, oh, so you're alone and you want a partner, and you're not okay with being polyamorous and all that. So you must have really strong issues that you need to heal. So you need to be alone and go to therapy. Instead of being like, oh, that's human nature. That's human nature that you would want companionship. And I've just been at this standstill because I have, for the last year and a half, since becoming single after my ex and I broke up, I've been caught in these, I hate the word, but situationships, for lack of better term, which, is basically just casual dating without boundaries, even though people don't want to call it that. Like, that's what a situationship is. And I have been in countless of these, right? Where I start talking to someone, we really enjoy spending time together, and we start hooking up, we start, exchanging emotions. I don't think that's a big thing we really discuss, is like when you start hooking up with someone, you are exchanging parts of yourself. You are exchanging those emotions, and you're feeling for them, and they're feeling for you. But then being young and naive and saying, well, this is great and I'm having fun and I really like this person, and at the same time I have a lot of commitment issues that I haven't dealt with, and I don't want to commit to this person, so I'm just going to see them as long as it's fun, and then as soon as it's over, done, right? As soon as it's not fun anymore, then I'm going to move on to the next thing. And I was this person, okay? I don't want to like throw around these terms like I haven't been there, because I have. I have been the person that has ghosted people. I have been the person that has gotten into these situations and taken these people's feelings for granted. And I feel bad about that, for sure. And I have also been on the other end of the coin, where I start feeling really strongly for someone and they then leave. And I'm left feeling like, wow, I just really opened my heart for someone and they are gone now. So where does that leave me? And this is such a, I think, really, really common phenomenon in my generation, because there is such an emphasis on being casual. And if you can't be casual, then something is wrong with you. If you're being triggered by someone being distant, you have anxious attachment, go fix that. Like all this talk of attachment styles and healing your childhood wounds and all that kind of stuff. And recently, I was in this situation with a guy where I started to feel really strongly towards him, and I thought the feelings were reciprocated. I thought it was the same way. This was a couple months ago. And I was really excited about this, right? Because I finally felt like I had found this person that wanted to invest time in me, and I wanted to invest time in them. And it turns out the feelings were not two-sided. I really got my hopes up for this person, and they ended up kind of running away from it. And in this, I got really, really, really triggered. I felt really sad, first of all, and then I also felt incredibly anxious. I would just sit there and look at my phone and wait for them to text me back. And I was, I called my friend Kylie one time and I was like, please come over. I'm just like having a mental breakdown. And I was just sobbing on my couch. And I couldn't figure out why I was just like so triggered by this, because guys, I've been alone. I'm okay with being alone. I love this life I've created for myself. I love being alone. And still, this made me feel like shit. Like, to be so for real, it made me feel awful. I hated that feeling, and I don't like how this person treated me. And instead of saying to myself, I don't like how that person treated me, so that's not the right person for me, I said to myself, wow, I have so much anxious attachment. I need to go to so much therapy and fix myself before I'm ever worthy enough for someone else. Newsflash, no. If someone's triggering your anxious attachment, that's probably because they're not the right person for you. But it makes sense that you would want to chase that too. And so that's another thing I'm learning is that like your attachment style is formed in your childhood. And so it's normal to chase those triggers because that's what was normal in your childhood. Sometimes feeling up and down and like you're constantly in fight or flight is your norm. So anyway, I tend to chase these experiences with these people who genuinely don't really care about me that much, but it triggers me. And so my brain gets excited about it and I latch onto it. And this is a pattern that I've recognized in myself over the last year and a half, 100%. So I'm trying to change that. And I'm recognizing that I am not someone who can do casual. I am not someone who can do casual hookups and seeing multiple people. And I'm trying to honor that about myself because I always thought that was a problem because everybody else could do casual, so why can't I? And that's not the case. If you can't do casual, what does that mean about you? Does that mean that you're weak? No, it just means that you genuinely care about people, and how beautiful is that? And so anyway, the other day, I was in another one of these situations where I had been in this casual fling with this guy. And when I'm talking casual, it was super casual. Like we hadn't really dated at all. We hadn't really gone on any dates. And we were both under the same understanding that this was casual with open communication, right? We had talked about communicating about it. Like, let me know where you're at. I'll let you know where I'm at. Cool. And in this, I thought I could be really wise about it. And I thought I could be unhurt by this situation. I thought that because we had good communication and because I knew that it was casual and I knew where the boundaries lied, I could control my emotions and I could control how I felt for that person because logically I could understand it. And then the other day, I was kind of planning on ending things anyway because I started to have these thoughts of like, do I really want something casual? Probably not. I don't think it's good for me. I think it's occupying a bit of my headspace that I don't want occupied right now by this. And he kind of beat me to it. We met up and had a conversation and he was like, hey, just so you know, I am in in a exclusive monogamous relationship right now. So we can just be homies, right? Gives me a thumbs up. And I said, oh, yeah, I guess that's fine. I was kind of thinking of ending it anyway. So like, that's okay. Hope you have fun with that. And I walked away and I was like, okay, like that's over. That's fine. And I'm sitting down in this coffee shop that I was at. And my friend's sitting across from me and he's like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I think I'm good. I think I'm okay. Like, you know, I think so. And as I'm sitting with it, I started to feel really sad and I started to feel really upset and really hurt. And I didn't really know why, because in my head, I was like, I knew that this was casual. I knew that we weren't going to date. Like this was not someone that I was going to like be in a relationship with. And I still had all these emotions coming up and I was sitting there and all of a sudden the tears just started coming and my friend's looking at me and he was like, oh. And I was just sitting there. I was trying to hold it back and trying to harness this emotion and trying to really be like, Abby, suck it up. You're fine. You're not actually that upset. This is not a man that's worth being upset over, right? And I still felt sad. And I ended up leaving and going and taking my dog for like an 8-mile long walk where I just listened to music and I cried and I talked to a stranger for a couple miles of it that was also on this walk. And I didn't even really talk to him about the situation. I just talked to him about what I was feeling and being 23 and all this. And he kind of helped me gain some perspective. But in all that to say, even though I did my best to be aware and emotionally intelligent about this and secure and to have good communication, I still felt hurt by this and I still felt sad. And that is something that I've just recognized about myself recently, is that when I open myself up to people in any way, shape, or form, I care about them really, really deeply. And whether that's a friendship or family or relationship or whatever, I am someone who genuinely cares about people, and that is beautiful. I love that about myself, but it gets me into trouble. It gets me into these situations where I give my heart to someone that maybe has shown that they probably can't handle it in a gentle way. And I do it very carelessly and then I end up getting hurt. And so it's not necessarily these people's faults, but it is my thing that I can change. And it's not something about myself that I want to change. I don't want to close off my heart, but I do understand that I need to get better at setting boundaries. And I do understand now that I have set this pressure on myself in my generation to be casual, because there is so much emphasis on that. And that's something I don't need to do. I don't need to be casual. I'm okay with seeing someone and being like, hey, these are my boundaries. I'm not okay with sharing. I'm not okay with bad communication. I'm not okay with feeling in the dark, like left in the dark. And if that's something, like if that's the game you want to play, if you aren't interested in doing that to me, I'm not going to be around for it, and being able to walk away. And I came across this article on Substack the other day that I kind of want to read some excerpts from, but it really opened my eyes to this, that I think as a generation, we've forgotten that love is a beautiful thing. That like giving your heart to someone, and like one person, is really one of the best things about being alive, right? And I think in social media specifically, that is forgotten. So I'm saying this as much to you guys as I'm saying it to myself. There is nothing wrong with craving companionship and craving one person who sees you and truly sees you, and you see them, and it's this mutual understanding of each other and exchange of energy and love. That is something that you should look forward to, and it's not something that we should lose hope over. And I think how do I put this? It's not that I've lost hope over it in the last couple years, but I've forgotten that it's important, and I've also forgotten the value in it. And in turn, this has made me think of people as disposable. Oh, this didn't work out, I'll just go get another one. Oh, they didn't treat me right, well, fuck them. It doesn't matter to me. I don't care about it, right? Instead of saying, this didn't work out, I'm really sad about it, I know I deserve better, I'm going to process this and still let it make me softer. And still let this make me someone who believes in love. And I can understand why this didn't work out, and I can still be sad about it. I over intellectualize the hell out of stuff. It's almost like if I can outthink my way of a situation, then I won't feel it. If I can rationalize something enough, then I don't have to actually feel the emotions that come along with it. If something ends with someone and I'm like, oh, that sucked, but I understand why it ended, because they're this way, they're very avoidant, they have a lot going on right now, they're in a very different stage of life than me, or they're younger than me, or they're older than me, and maybe the distance or the timing didn't work out. If I can rationalize it, and if I can explain it to myself enough, then I won't feel it. And I hate to break it to you, you still have to feel everything. And there's no way of getting out of that. And if it doesn't come up now, it's going to come up later. And most likely, it's going to keep coming up until you feel it. And letting yourself feel that, like the other day after this situation in the coffee shop, when the tears started coming and I got in my car, I just cried. And the only thing I kept telling myself is let yourself cry, let yourself cry, let yourself feel this, let yourself process it, feel it, really feel it, and then let it pass. But don't force it to pass, okay? If it wants to stay, let it stay. Recognize it. Understand that you're human and you're emotional, and that's a superpower. Do not let it make you hard and like closed off. Don't put the walls up. For the love of anything, please don't put the walls up. Let yourself be made softer by it, because I promise you that someone will come along and they will see that softness and they will see that openness, and they'll see that despite everything, you have truly remained yourself, and you've been able to keep an open heart and keep an open mind. And that is where strength lies. The strength doesn't lie in becoming hardened by things. The strength lies in becoming softer. And it's so hard. It's so hard to do, because it feels like you're just a kid. It feels like you have this little kid inside of you that is screaming and crying and just wants to be loved. And it's terrifying to put yourself out there like that, because it does hurt. but also it's like, what a beautiful thing we get to experience. How amazing is it to get hurt by someone who you let yourself get hurt by? Because to get hurt, you let yourself open up to that person. And I think that that is the kindest thing we can do for ourselves. And that doesn't mean that you should just like give your heart freely to anyone. Another thing I'm learning, obviously, is that maybe there's some people who don't deserve your time and don't deserve your love and your heart, and you should be wary of that. You shouldn't just kind of like go out on a whim and love anyone. But if someone is giving you every reason to love them and is you know, you feel it for them, let yourself do that. And you don't have to know where it's going to go. You don't have to know what's going to happen. You don't have to know everything about the relationship, the beginning, middle, and end. That's one thing I struggle with too, is like, I get into something and I'm like, well, this is going to happen, and then this is going to happen, and then it's going to end. So it's not even worth trying. It's not even worth beginning the relationship because it's just going to end anyway. So like, what's the fucking point, right? And the answer is like, that's the whole point. That is the whole point. The whole point is just the feeling, just putting yourself out there and letting yourself be loved and learning how to love other people and learning more about yourself in turn. And that's how we become better. And it's just wonderful. I just love it. So I'm just a girl. I'm just a soft girl, and I just want to be loved. And I'm just so happy that I get to experience that in any capacity. But from the future now on, I do know myself well enough to set boundaries where I need to set boundaries. So what really brought this up is I was sitting at the same coffee shop the next day, and I wasn't really feeling it anymore. Like the emotions had definitely set in. I felt them and they passed, and I felt a lot better the next day about it. I was still like a little bit bummed, but it's okay. Like that's okay. I was just having a little low energy day, and I was sitting in this coffee shop, and I had just finished doing my taxes, and it was so fun. Not fun. But I just finished doing my taxes, and I started reading some articles on Substack because that's been something I've been wanting to do more of. I really love Substack. I think it's a really healthy way to consume media right now because it's long form. So you're reading articles and stuff rather than just like scrolling mindlessly on TikTok or Instagram or whatever. I think if you're going to consume media, it is one of the better forms of media right now that we can consume. So Substack, it's going to be in my favorites list at the end. Spoiler. But I was reading these articles on Substack, and I came across this girl named Freya India, and she's an author from the UK, and she had some really, really, really insightful articles, and one of them it just hit home for me in a really amazing way. And it took this pain that I was experiencing and this hurt and the sting of what had just happened, and it gave me hope from it. And so I want to share it with you guys because I think that I can talk anyone's ear off, right? I can talk forever. But I am only a 23-year-old girl who is still learning. And if I can bring in some perspective from someone else on this too, to kind of emphasize the point I'm making, it is really helpful. So the article that she posted on Substack, again, her name is Freya India. She's amazing. I've read all of her articles now and I love her. And this one in particular is called Love is Worth Believing In. And when I saw this, honestly, I saw the title and I didn't want to read it because I thought it was kind of just going to be some woo-woo kind of stuff of like, love is amazing, love is beautiful, love is kind, all this like the quotes you hear in poets and all that kind of stuff. But no, I started reading it regardless, even though I kind of really didn't want to. And she really took me back. So I'm going to start from the middle of the article because the whole thing is pretty long. If you want to read the full thing, maybe I'll add it to the link in my Instagram bio, along with like the Spotify and everything. So go check that out. But also you just go on Substack and look up Freya India. She's incredible. Okay. But I'm going to start from the middle of the article and then just read on. It's going to be about 5 minutes. So just prepare yourself. I'm going to take a drink of water first. Freya says, anyone who has felt real love knows it's not just about the unpredictability of who you fall for, but that they aren't replaceable. We talk endlessly now about people being exchanged like products. Everyone's expendable at any moment. Real love doesn't work that way. Real love is meeting someone and thinking, okay, I'm in trouble here because it's this person and this person only. It's looking at them and thinking, God, even if love is doomed to go wrong, guess I'm going to have to attempt it now. But this is all just hormones, apparently. Nothing too serious. Something we can feel for multiple people at once. Healthier to see it as temporary. And maybe it is healthier in a way, or at least less terrifying than the truth, that falling for someone means risking a permanent hold on you. That's the price we pay, a real and irreplaceable connection for the risk of feeling bound to them forever, whatever happens. And with real love, there's no calculation about what's in it for you. It's a sudden, sometimes disorienting urge to give. Not the type of giving we think of, putting their needs first. That thing we call people-pleasing in a trauma response. That thing we train people to stop doing and send them to therapy for. That beautiful, rare thing. We used to call it love, your needs becoming theirs. Taking care of each other. That's what love is supposed to be. You fall for someone and it kickstarts some selflessness in you, awakes kindness and generosity you didn't know you had. It doesn't matter how resistant or independent you are, it disarms you. Can we even get our heads around that now? We had it hammered in that we are enough, that we have to be strong and self-reliant, and that we should never give ourselves away. How are we supposed to make sense of becoming one accord? But I think that this kind of love is real and is possible. I think it's one of the only things left that is. If anything is an illusion, it's all these other distractions. It's social media, it's dating apps, it's the porn industry, pretending it's healthy and human to sit alone in your room and simulate intimacy with a screen. Honestly, is there anything more hopeless? I don't think the poets are lying to you about love. I do think Tinder is lying to you, and Pornhub. I do think our culture is lying to you when it insists self-love is enough, that buying more and chasing fame, followers, and freedom is what's real and reliable, that believing in all that will make you happy, but believing in love will get you hurt. I guess I just think if you're going to fall for anything in modern life, it should be another person. And so I'm becoming skeptical of this idea that those who rush into romantic loves are the naive ones. I'm starting to think it's the ones who wait as long as possible, trying to calculate and predict everything first, making sure it's maximized in their interest. Those who fall in love and convince themselves it's a chemical reaction or a trauma response, aren't they telling themselves a comforting lie? Those lucky enough to experience the most precious and rare thing in life but hedge their bets and hold out to commit, always half in, half out. Who's naive? Who here is more hopeless? I'm not denying it's hard to find love now, but disbelief makes it harder. My advice for girls growing up and becoming disillusioned is basically to do the opposite of what we've been told. Watch old romantic movies, read classic love stories, play old love songs, listen to your grandparents. Fill your life with reminders of the good in the world. Don't expect lifelong commitment to be easy, but don't lose hope in the loyalty and kindness and lasting love either. Hold those expectations for yourself and for others. Conduct yourself as if that kind of love exists and you'll come closer to it. Because right now it's painful. Painful trying to keep it together and hold on to hope when this world is hell-bent on killing it. Feel some wonder and get a chemical explanation. Feel some selflessness and get told you need to put your guard back up. Feel alive for once and get laughed in the face. I suggest you shut all that out and be brave enough to say no. I don't want a situationship. I want to know someone. I want to be known. I won't put up with a love that's disloyal or unkind or half-hearted because I believe in something more. I don't want endless options, the world at my fingertips. I want the world to fall away except for one person. And for anyone older who has found this type of love, please remind young people it's real. Gen Z might have it easier in ways, but seriously, when it comes to romance, we've had it rough. The only world we've ever known is where our parents are two strangers who can barely look at each other at the doorstep, where our partners kindly put their Tinder accounts on pause just to try us out, where porn isn't stigmatized but supposedly benefits our relationships. So please don't call young people naive when, against all odds, against every cultural disincentive, against constant messaging to maximize their freedom, they decide they want to commit to one person. Don't wonder why nobody wants to settle down while making marriage sound like a living hell. Because we have to believe in love first. You can't fall for anything you don't believe in. We're demoralized and risk-averse enough. We don't need any more warnings. But yeah, I'm young. Maybe the joke's on me. Hopeless romantics and everything. But I don't know. It seems to me that the romantics are the only ones left with any hope. Everyone else has it hollowed out of them. If anything's hopeless, it's a world convinced that love is a chemical impulse or calculation. It's a young generation that instead of going after giddy teenage love is already giving up on it. It's this vain belief that we game love, game death, game nature, game this whole world to avoid hurt and pain. God help us, hopeless. All this to say, I think love is real. I think it's worth believing in. We can't afford not to. There are a lot of ways we are fooled in the modern world, but falling in love isn't one of them. Love, selfless, lasting love is out there. Remind yourself of that often. Refuse to give up on it. Otherwise, our world belongs to the people who don't believe. Otherwise, we hand it over to the truly hopeless. And I think we're already finding out what happens then. Guys, when I read this shit for the first time, I had to close my laptop and just go, that's crazy. But holy shit, is she right? I mean, oh my God. You guys have no idea how much I've had these feelings come up of like, wow, I really want to be loved, and I want to be seen. I want to be like nurtured and seen, and just, I just want that. And then to have my immediate thought be, but that's wrong, and that makes you weak, and that makes you unindependent, and that makes you codependent, and you need to go to therapy. And then I start scrolling on social media, and the only things I start seeing are 5 signs you have anxious attachment. Pay for this course, pay $1,000 for this course, and heal your anxious attachment. Heal your childhood wounds. Unlock secure attachment in 5 ways. Like, constantly reaffirming my belief that the problem is me, and that it's a problem that I want that, and that I get upset when I don't get that from people. That isn't a problem. It's not a problem. And I'm trying to really remind myself that it's okay to want that, and it's okay to let yourself have it. And like, what a magnificent, beautiful thing. So that's been really heavy on my mind recently, if you can't tell. And I am someone who, like, I haven't been in a lot of long-term relationships. I've only been in 2 in my life ever. And one of them is married now. One of them was my high school relationship, and he is married. He's been married for a while. Happy for him. And my other ex, we've been broken up for almost a couple years now, and I think he's seeing someone else now. And I think, healed enough to where, like, I'm ready for something else. So with that being said, I am trying to only open myself up to people who I really see potential with, and I really feel strongly for, and that I know that they are in the same spot. And I think I'm keeping hope there, because with that hope, you start to attract people like that. And this also just isn't about romantic love. This is about accepting love in friendships too, and giving love in friendships, and having boundaries there as well, because, you know, you are who you surround yourself with. And when you assert yourself, as you walk into a room, you assert yourself as someone who has a lot of self-respect, a lot of dignity, and has a lot of openness and authenticity, you attract that. You attract other people who see that, and they go, oh, this person, like, matches me in this way, and I respect myself and they respect themselves. That's so cool. And you attract other friends like that too. These friends who are going to build you up and see that in you and not tear it down. But if you're someone who maybe doesn't have a lot of respect for themselves, doesn't have a lot of self-confidence, has had situations where you've felt it break you down, and you felt it kind of close you off, and you just start to accept this attention and love from just anyone because you're just so desperate for it, you will start accepting love from people who don't love you right, and accepting being treated in ways that you don't deserve to be treated in. So I'm also, like, learning in friendships as far as this goes. I've had a lot of, since moving to Bend, I love Bend, right? Moving here, I had no friends. I had, like, one friend that lived here. And I just wanted a big friend group. Like, that was my main thing, is I wanted a lot of friends. I wanted people around me all the time. I wanted a constant community. And I got that. Oh my God, I got that. I have met so many people here, and I've met some incredible friends. And also, I've met people who I don't necessarily want to hang out with all the time, because I just don't really think we vibe that well. I don't really think that we would be great friends, but I keep them around, or, like, I keep hanging out with them or whatever, because I'm afraid of disappointing them or setting boundaries. And in turn, it just drains the shit out of me. And I've since, like, set boundaries with, like, some of these people who, you know, I was hanging out with for a while and on and off, and I just had to kind of take some time in that, because it just wasn't valuable for me. And I've since tried to start lowering my friend group and really reining in on the people that I do care about, because I think your energy is worth protecting. So I don't know. It's like this double-sided coin of like, keep believing in love and keep opening yourself up, and also set boundaries where you need to set boundaries. But I think it all comes down to a level of self-respect that you have to have and honoring yourself. And that's the best thing you can do. Like my therapist, when I was going to therapy consistently a couple months ago, I was having this issue with my dad where I don't want to share too much on it, but there was some boundaries that I needed to set with him where he would say things that just really made me sad and were disrespectful. And I talked to my therapist about this, and I was like, I don't know if I need to have a conversation with him about this or if I'm okay with just letting it go. I don't know what the right answer here is. And all he said to me was, Abby, the only thing in this situation you need to do is make the decision that honors you best. If that decision is setting a boundary with him and saying, I don't like when you talk to me like this, then you need to do that. But if honoring yourself means that you can kind of just process it alone and let it go, and maybe limit that time and stuff with them, like kind of take some space from that, then that's what you need to do. And so do whatever you have to do in any situation to honor yourself. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of fascinating to learn about. And it's just like, I am someone who also is just incredibly introspective. I love to learn more about my brain and why I feel the way I feel and how I can be better and how I can grow and how I can learn. And I've been given ample opportunity to do that in the last couple years. And it's been really, really hard, but boy, have I learned a lot. And so I'm hoping that through this podcast, I can kind of share that with you guys of just stuff that I have learned and that I'm actively learning, and maybe share a bit of like introspection there, because I think that I see a lot of value in that. So all of that to say, in 2025, we are respecting ourselves. We are believing in love, and that love is real and possible and beautiful. And also we are shutting out the love that doesn't deserve us, and in turn, opening ourselves up to love that does deserve us and that we deserve. So I just feel really hopeful. Like, that's the only thing I feel recently is just so hopeful, because what a perspective shift. Instead of this situation really hurt and love is pointless and love hurts me, saying this situation really hurts. I opened myself up to it and I got hurt, and that's sad. But that means I can feel that for someone who's going to feel it back for me, and letting it become hope rather than like this despair and hopelessness. So one of my favorite quotes from one of my favorite poets, Shane Koizan, I love him so much. I've talked about him a million times on here before, but he has this, I don't even know which poem this is from, but he basically just said, let your heart be the rocking chair that soothes the tired body of self-loathing. And I think that's exactly it, is like your heart you have to feel it, and you have to let it soothe you, and you have to not close it off. So I think I'm going to end on that note. And we're going to go into things that I've been loving recently, my favorites. If you don't know, I do a section at the end of every episode that are my favorite things that I've just been obsessed with recently. And whether that's music or poetry or whatever, I want to share some media and stuff that I've been consuming in hopes that maybe you can consume some of the same media and we can relate on that. So first of all, we talked about in this episode, Substack, a healthier consumption of media, in my opinion. Lots of articles on there. Again, Freya India is one that I love. She has some beautiful articles on there. One of the ones that I also love that kind of ties into this episode is hers that's called Maybe You Aren't Anxiously Attached, or Maybe You Don't Have Anxious Attachment. And that one is very insightful too. And then the other one that I've been loving from her is called The Age of Abandonment. And these are all free. You can subscribe to her profile for free and see these ones. And I think she also has some paid subscription options where you can get access to more of her stuff. But these are free. So The Age of Abandonment, Maybe You Aren't Anxiously Attached or Don't Have Anxious Attachment. And then this one was called Love is Worth Believing In. So those three I highly recommend. Have quite literally changed my outlook in the last couple weeks since I started reading them. So definitely go check her out. As far as music goes, there's a new song coming out from this band that I just discovered because they're a very new band, and the band is called We Just Met Band. We Just Met. And they have a new song coming out April 4th called Big Black Hole. And if they have the whole thing posted on their Instagram, so if you go to We Just Met Band on Instagram, they have the entire clip. And I think I saw a TikTok of them singing this. And it is one of the most incredible songs I have heard in so long. I sat there for probably like 20 minutes replaying the thing over and over again because the harmonies, it is just the lyrics. Oh my God, it just scratches something in my brain. It is so beautiful. It is so beautiful. And it'll be out on April 4th. So go stream it then if you want. But if you want to check it out before then, it is on their Instagram. And I have been setting my phone down on Instagram, clicking the video and playing it on my speakers and just repeating that video over and over again because it's that good. So I love that song. There's another song called Broad Ripple is Burning. And I actually covered that at an open mic night a couple days ago. And it's one of my favorite songs. It's been one of my favorite songs since I was a kid. Since I was probably like 14. But Broad Ripple is Burning. It's a beautiful song. The lyrics, again, are just really funky and fun. And the melody is beautiful. So love that song. And then my third song is called Honest Wage by Penny and Sparrow. And it's one of their older albums from 2014, I think. And it's just very tender and raw. And I think it kind of like ties into this episode a bit because it shows just this desire to want to love someone and be loved and to not have that reciprocated and how that feels. So Honest Wage by Penny and Sparrow, incredible song. Again, I'm going to have all of these in my Spotify that I have been procrastinating putting in my bio. So that is one of my things that I'm going to do right after I stop filming this episode is I'm going to get the Spotify linked in the bio and I'm going to add all of these songs into the playlist. Okay. I'm so sorry. I'm incredibly bad at my job sometimes. So thank you for sticking with me and like supporting me through everything because it's been a lot, right? I tend to bite off more than I can chew. And thank God I have the help of an insanely amazing editor here in Bend. Sage, I love you. You are the most incredible. She's editing this right now. Everyone say hi to Sage. Hi, Sage. And she has been so helpful because literally I finish editing the podcast and I upload it all onto a hard drive and then I just go drop it off with her and she does the editing, she does the posting, she edits the reels for me that I can post on my Instagram and then just sends me everything. And you have no idea how helpful that has been. Like I would not be able to do this podcast without her. Sage is one half of the podcast. And we love Sage. So thank you, Sage, for being just the most amazing and for helping this dream of mine come to fruition. And thank you guys for being here and supporting me. I know that I've been pretty bad at advertising this podcast, but it's just something, my only goal with it was to be consistent. So, and I feel like I'm trying to do that. So thank you for sticking around for a 5th episode. I hope that this was kind of insightful and also just maybe makes you feel a little bit less broken and a little bit less like you need fixing because I think in general, we're all just doing our best and you're going to find someone who loves you despite the things that maybe you need to work on or your wounds or things you need to heal. Like you are worth love regardless of how perfect you are. You know, you don't need to be perfect to receive it. Like your worth is not dependent on that. So I love you. I'm so happy you're here. I hope that maybe you feel a little bit more hopeful now like I do. And lastly, for goodness sake, start talking to people. Okay. One of the things I've been trying to make a point of recently is just talking to everyone. And when I get anxious about it, because your girl has some social anxiety, I'll just like take a step back, take a breath, and start the conversation. So like I'll go into a coffee shop and start talking to the barista and ask them about their day and really like compliment them on something or just try to have that exchange. And then talking to a random stranger in the coffee shop, you see someone's dog that you want to pet, go up and pet their dog and ask them a question or whatever. Like just go talk to people because I think after COVID, we all got in this rut of like being so closed off to everyone. And I want to try to break that. So that's my challenge to you is go somewhere, talk to some random people that you've never met, open up a conversation. And who knows, like what's the worst thing that could happen? The conversation doesn't go anywhere and you walk away. Bummer. What's the best thing that could happen? You fall in love. That could be cool. So go start talking to people. If you're feeling alone, chances are someone else out there is feeling alone too, and you could be the person that changes that. Take the initiative. Know that people want to talk to you, that you have worth that's worth contributing to the world. And for the love of anything, if you choose to believe in anything, just believe in love because that's what I'm trying to do. And I think you guys should too. Okay, that's it. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for coming over, and I will see you next Monday. Love you. Bye.